Colton Hood. That is the name. That is the move. And this is bigger than paperwork. First, a rookie just got locked in. Then, the Giants sent a roster-building message. And then, the one that changes everything. Why depth now decides the season. By the end, you will know exactly why Big Blue is moving this way. Big Blue lock-in. Breaking news from the facility, Giants fans. Colton Hood has officially signed his rookie contract. And if you are brushing that off as a small transaction, you are missing the whole point. This is not just a signature. This is a signal. Real talk before we dive in. Eagles fans love acting like the NFC East runs through them forever. Cowboys fans never stop talking. Commanders fans think every reset is a revolution. But this channel is by Big Blue, for Big Blue. If you want Giants Daily to keep growing louder than those rival fan bases, hit subscribe right now. Every sub is a flag planted at MetLife Stadium. Comment, "Let's go Giants," and let them see who is really here. Now back to the move. The Giants are locking in rookies, increasing competition, and setting up camp battles before the season starts. That matters, because this roster is not being built on reputation anymore. It is being built on pressure. Here is where the story starts. A rookie signs his contract, the transaction hits, and most people scroll right past it. But inside a real football building, this type of move means the board is getting organized. The early reveal is simple. Colton Hood has signed his rookie contract with the Giants. That puts him officially into the team's rookie class from a contract standpoint, and it sets the stage for him to compete. Not talk, not hype, compete. The Giants are building out the young defensive depth chart, and Hood now becomes part of that picture. This is exactly the kind of move that tells you the front office wants the young players in place, under contract, and ready to fight for roles. That matters because camp battles are not decided by press releases. They are decided by reps, consistency, and who handles the pressure when the roster gets tight. And let me say this clearly. Depth is not a luxury for this team. Depth is survival. The Giants are not just collecting names. They are trying to find value in every corner of the depth chart. Hood's signing fits that theme perfectly. The move gives the defensive side another young player in the building, another competitor in the room, and another piece that forces everyone else to stay sharp. This is how roster pressure works. A rookie gets signed, and suddenly, the bottom of the depth chart gets louder. A young defender sees another name enter the competition, and now every rep matters more. A coach looks at the room, and the message becomes obvious. Nobody gets comfortable. Film do not lie. This is chess, not checkers. The Giants are not treating rookie development like decoration. They are making it part of the roster plan. And for Big Blue Nation, that is the part to care about. You want a team that creates internal competition before the Eagles, Cowboys, and Commanders ever line up across from you. Personal opinion here. I think Hood's signing is a smart depth move, not a headline-chasing move. That is why I like it. The Giants are showing they want rookies ready for competition, and that is how better rosters get built. Disagree? Drop your reasoning below. Because here is the bigger point. This is not only about Colton Hood. The signing connects to a broader Giants pattern. Young players are being evaluated. Former high draft picks are not being protected by reputation. The roster is being pushed toward competition. And that leads directly into story 2. Because if Hood's signing is the transaction, the next story is the philosophy behind it. Now, what most channels miss is this. They see a rookie contract and stop there. I see the Giants showing us how they want this roster to function. The second story is the broader decision-making around young players and former high draft picks. The supporting context is simple, but important. The Giants' decisions around those players show how much roster competition matters inside the building. That is the real theme. This team is not acting like draft status alone is enough. It is not acting like youth alone is enough. It is not acting like potential alone is enough. The Giants are creating pressure. That is exactly why Hood's signing matters beyond Hood. When rookies get locked in, the roster picture gets clearer. When young players are put into battles, the coaching staff gets answers. When former high draft picks face real competition, the team finds out who is still rising and who is standing still. That is uncomfortable. Good. It should be. The Giants need a camp where jobs are earned, not inherited. They need a camp where defensive depth gets tested. They need a camp where every young player understands that opportunity is not the same thing as security. That is New York tough. And this is where I think the front office is sending a message without shouting it. If you are young, prove you belong. If you were drafted high, prove the investment still matters. If you are a rookie, prove you can make the staff notice. That is the difference between a soft rebuild and a serious roster build. A soft team protects feelings. A serious team creates competition. And Big Blue should want the serious version. This matters even more because the Giants are not only trying to build a starting group. They are trying to build a roster that survives the season. That means the back end of the depth chart cannot be an afterthought. The Eagles, Cowboys, and Commanders are not going to care about excuses. They are going to attack weak spots. They are going to test depth. They are going to force the Giants to show whether the roster is real. So when Hood signs, and when young players face pressure, that is connected. It is one big message. No free rides. I will say it, and I know not everyone will agree. In my opinion, this roster competition approach is the most important part of the Giants' offseason. Not the loudest part, the most important part. Because if the bottom of the roster gets stronger, the whole team gets harder to break. Tell me I am wrong. Now I want your take. Comment, locked in, if you agree this competition approach is the right path. Comment, not enough, if you think the Giants still need more. No middle ground. Quick reminder, if you have made it this far, you are Big Blue. Hit subscribe and stay in the fight. Because now we get to the part that changes the way you should view all of this. The Colton Hood signing is one piece. The competition theme is another. But story 3 is the reason depth matters right now. Stay with me. Now, this is the one I told you was coming. The story that makes the Hood signing feel bigger. The story that turns a rookie contract into a roster-wide conversation. The story that explains why depth is not a boring word for the Giants. Here it is. Malik Neighbors' health concerns are the reminder. Not because Hood plays the same role. Not because one player replaces another. That is not the point. The point is bigger than position. When a team has health concerns around a key young player, the lesson spreads across the whole roster. Development matters everywhere, and depth matters before you need it. That is the bomb. The Giants cannot build like everything will go perfectly. No serious team does that. They have to develop rookies. They have to stack competition. They have to find value in every corner of the depth chart. That is exactly the frame around Hood's signing. Now connect this to Story 1 and Story 2. Story 1 gave us the move. Colton Hood signed his rookie contract. Story 2 gave us the philosophy. The Giants are increasing competition around young players and former high draft picks. Story 3 gives us the reason. Malik Neighbors' health concerns remind everyone why depth and development are not optional. That is the full picture. The Giants are trying to avoid being a roster built only on the obvious names. That matters because football seasons expose thin teams. They expose lazy depth charts. They expose front offices that rely on hope instead of competition. Hope is not a plan. Depth is a plan. Development is a plan. Competition is a plan. And that is why a move like Hood signing deserves real attention. Not because every rookie signing becomes a headline. Because every rookie signing helps complete the camp environment. You need the young defensive depth chart filled with players who are actually in the fight. You need coaches evaluating real competition. You need former high draft picks feeling pressure from behind. You need rookies learning fast because the roster is not waiting forever. That is how serious teams operate. The Giants are not saying Hood is the entire answer. The news does not say that, and I am not pretending it does. But the signing tells us he is now officially part of the competition. That is enough to matter. And when you pair that with the Neighbors' context, the urgency changes. Fans see health concerns and naturally focus on the star player. I get it. But the smarter takeaway is broader. The entire roster has to be better prepared. Because if one concern can shift the conversation, then every layer of the roster matters. That includes rookies. That includes depth defenders. That includes young players still proving themselves. That includes former high draft picks who cannot just live off where they were selected. This is the NFL. Your spot is earned again and again. I am going on record right now. In my opinion, the biggest mistake Giants fans can make is treating depth as boring. That is the losing mindset. The winning mindset is understanding that Hood's signing, roster competition, and Neighbors' health concerns are all connected. This is how Big Blue builds a tougher team. Convince me I am wrong. Now you have your answer to the question I asked earlier. Drop it in the comments. Locked in or not enough. And if this analysis hit, like the video. That is how we keep the algorithm pushing real Giants breakdowns instead of empty noise. Because here is what this really means. The Giants are trying to create a team where the next man is not just a slogan. They are trying to create a roster where young players are prepared before the emergency arrives. That is not flashy. That is necessary. 3 stories. 1 picture. Here is what it all means together. Colton Hood signing his rookie contract is the front door. The Giants' broader roster competition is the hallway. Malik Neighbor's health concerns are the room that makes everything feel urgent. The team is showing us a roster-building formula. Lock in rookies, raise competition, and treat depth like a real weapon. That is the thesis. And against the Eagles, Cowboys, and Commanders, that matters. The NFC East does not reward fragile teams. It punishes them. The Giants need more than a few exciting names. They need a roster that can fight through pressure and keep developing. That starts before the games. It starts with signings like Hood. It starts with camp battles. It starts with making young players earn everything. Listen closely. The next video is going deeper into how these roster battles shaped the Giants' defensive depth chart before the season. If you are Big Blue for real, you need that breakdown. Subscribe now, hit the bell, and make sure YouTube actually brings it to you. Drop your final answer below. Locked in or not enough. And do not just comment and disappear. Defend your answer. If you say locked in, tell me why this competition approach is enough. If you say not enough, tell me what the Giants still need to add or fix. That is how Big Blue Nation talks ball. Not lazy takes. Real debate. But listen closely. One decision is still hanging over the bigger picture. How the Giants sort out the final shape of these camp battles. Hood is locked in, young players are under pressure, and former high draft picks have to prove they still belong in the plan. That answer is coming through competition. And the rivals are watching. The Eagles want cracks. The Cowboys want chaos. The Commanders want proof the Giants are still vulnerable. So Big Blue has to answer with a tougher roster, a deeper roster, and a room full of players who know nothing is guaranteed. That is the fight. That is the season before the season. Big Blue, the battle is here. Subscribe, stay locked, and let's go Giants. We ride together.